The troubles of my teasing wife. Mona's problem was that she could never take anything seriously. This trait had been present in her throughout high school, college, and the 27 years of our marriage. Mona was what most men call a cock tease. My earliest memory of Mona was in 7th grade when I was at a birthday party for someone whose name I can't even remember. She let me run my hand down her leg to about mid-thigh and then grabbed my hand and said, "We can't. We might get caught." Despite my protests, she firmly said we couldn't do it then, but maybe later at a more private time. Needless to say, that more private time never came. For me, it finally came, but not until 9 years later. By the time we were in 11th grade, every guy I knew had gotten under Mona's skirt or blouse or traded kisses with her at the movies. But no one I knew had ever made love to her. Mona was a great friend of my sister's. And more than once I heard my sister talking to Mona on the phone and saying, "You're going to get in trouble, Mona. One day your games will turn against you." One day I asked her what Mona said to that. She thinks it's all good fun, and that no one takes her seriously. But one day she'll start teasing the wrong person, and then she'll be in big trouble. Mona never teased the wrong person, at least I didn't know that, and continued to tease for the rest of high school and all 4 years of college. I went east to college on a soccer scholarship and didn't see or hear from Mona the entire 4 years I was away, so I was surprised when I came home and my sister told me that Mona really wanted to see me and asked her to set up a chance meeting. I didn't object, and the meeting took place. Long story short, sparks flew, bells rang, fireworks exploded between us, and 6 weeks later, we were married. The 6-week courtship didn't leave me much time to follow the events of the past 4 years, but at the wedding reception, it was obvious that Mona hadn't changed much. I noticed that she never missed an opportunity to lean over and give some guy a glimpse of her cleavage. The view went all the way down to her belly button, and everyone she danced with got a couple good feels. And once I saw a guy with his hands on her breasts, and she waited a few seconds before pushing him away and walking away to continue the fun. The most amazing thing was that I didn't care. Whenever we made contact, electricity flashed between us, and that was enough for me. I loved watching her have fun. As is inevitable in small towns, word spread around. I took a break and was sitting in a stall in the restroom, minding my own business when a couple of guys came in to use the urinals. I knew who they were. I grew up with them. We went to school together. I'm just not naming names to protect the guilty. One of them said, "Do you think Rob knows that Mona has dated half the guys in town?" "No," replied the other, "and he probably doesn't know what she's been doing with the other half." "You think we'll still be able to get sex from her from time to time now that she's married? Do you think being married will slow her down even a little?" Probably not. She was in the parking lot with Lenny half an hour ago, and although I can't see through cars, the movements I saw left me in no doubt that she was giving Lenny a body massage. I know this may seem strange, but instead of getting angry, I took the wood, left the bathroom, and went looking for my 4 o'clock wife. If I caught her with Lenny, I would have pulled up her wedding dress and had sex with her. No such luck. I found her on the dance floor, and the guy she was dancing with took every opportunity to rub his body against her. All I saw was that I got even harder. The reception was supposed to last until 11, but in the middle of the night it was still going on. I took Mona aside and told her to go change, as it was time for us to sneak out. While she went to change, I went out to check on the car. Knowing that the guys would somehow rip it off, I rented a car and left it in the parking lot first thing in the morning. I would come back for the car later. On my way back to the hall, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye, and turning my head to the right, I found myself looking out the window. I moved closer and saw Mona wearing white high-heeled shoes, white stockings, garter belt, panties, and bra. My best man was sitting in the chair, and Mona was caressing his body. I watched it all the way through. I was beyond lustful. The strange thing was that during our 6-week courtship, Mona and I hadn't done anything. I began to wonder what I had gotten myself into. I picked Mona up and we left a half hour before we were spotted. On the way back to the hotel, Mona pulled up next to me and started caressing my body. When I looked at her, she smiled and said, "We're married now. I can do this all I want." The honeymoon began with Mona discovering that she was a virgin. The sex was fantastic. For 3 days, we did not leave the room. All meals were ordered to the room, and we never once let the maids in. If 2 people could do something sexual, Mona wanted it. At the end of the 3rd day, I jokingly said that I wasn't sure I would be man enough to satisfy her for long. She laughed and replied, "Honey, trust me that I'll do anything when you need me to." She then proceeded to tell me about how she had been flirting with guys since her freshman year of college. She didn't name names, but made sure I knew most of the recipients of her services. She even snitched on herself about her admissions. She told me that she had been in ongoing relationships with 4 different guys, and that at the reception she said goodbye to them in her own special way. "But I'm all yours now, my love, all yours and only yours." Of course she lied. Over the next 25 years, although I'm pretty sure she never had sex with anyone else, I know of several instances where she teased a guy and flirted with him. I've even managed to see her do it with a few of them, unbeknownst to me, and it never bothered me. She gave me everything I could handle, she loved me, and I knew it. While all my friends were telling me about their marriages coming to naught, Mona was working hard to make sure it never happened to us. She was resourceful and insatiable. But one thing never changed. She was still the biggest tease in the world. We didn't go to a single party or social event where she wasn't teased. I kept telling her that someday she would get in trouble if she kept it up. She just laughed and said it was all a lot of fun. She got the guys excited, and when they got home, their wives got the benefits. She said she helped keep things spicy in the marriages of half of our friends. Some guys got aggressive when Mona turned them on, but she never worried because I was her safety valve. Whenever someone got hot and horny enough to try to lure Mona to a private place, she'd say, "Uh-oh, my husband's in there, I gotta go." Well, after being told for years that she was looking for trouble, she finally found it. We were at her sister's birthday party. Everything was going great, and everyone was having a good time. Around midnight, one of the guys got sick from drinking, and since he was in no condition to drive and I don't drink, I offered to drive him home. I found Mona and told her what I was going to do and that I would be back in an hour or so. I didn't think I would have to save her from herself while she was at her sister's. I stopped at a gas station 2 blocks from the house, and while I was there, another guy who was at the party also stopped at the gas station. He was on his way home and, since he had to pass George's house on the way, volunteered to take George from my arms. As a result, I was back at the party in 10 minutes. When I walked in, Mona was nowhere to be found, but I didn't pay much attention to that. I felt the need to pee, so I headed for the bathroom. As I passed the partially ajar bedroom door, I heard some guys laughing and what sounded to me like Mona's voice. "No, please, no." I stopped, peeked through the ajar crack, and saw 6 guys and Mona. They were holding her down on the bed and pulling down her underwear. She wriggled and begged them to stop, but they paid no attention to her. No, you can't," Mona screamed. One of the guys laughed and said, "Rob won't save you this time. You've been begging for it for years, and tonight you're going to get it." I didn't rush out to save her. I told myself to let it last a little longer before I intervened. Maybe it would teach her a lesson. She kept screaming, "No, please, no, you can't do this." "Time to come in," I said. But even as I started to move toward the door, it was too late. A voice said, "Shut that door and lock it." And as the door closed, I saw Mona lift her head off the bed and head toward the guy. Why didn't I kick the door down? Probably because I remembered Mona wooing my best man. Or maybe because of the greedy look on her face when she lifted her head and looked at the guy's dignity. Or maybe it was the way I felt when I saw her flirting with other guys. Whatever the case, I wanted to see it again. I walked out the back door and moved toward the house. I was in luck. The bedroom curtains were pulled apart just enough for me to peek inside, and what I saw was a sight I'll never forget. My 50-year-old wife had her knees pulled up to her shoulders. Her high-heeled shoes pointed straight up at the ceiling, and a guy half her age was having sex with her. For the next 45 minutes, I watched the guys make love to her. I didn't pay much attention to what the guys were saying. All I could hear was Mona. As they started to get dressed, one guy helped Mona to her feet and into the bathroom so she could clean herself up, and the other went to find her purse so she could reapply her makeup. As the guys were leaving the room, Mona said, "Please, guys, please don't let Rob find out about this." None of them answered her. As the last guy was walking out the door, he turned around, put his arms around Mona, and kissed her on the lips. The kiss became passionate, and Mona's hand moved down to stroke his body through his pants. The guy interrupted the kiss and said, "Later, baby, later." And Mona reluctantly pulled her hand away from his body. I couldn't wait to hear what she had to say once we got in the car. The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.